Next, we're going to dive into the concept known as marginal cost and the marginal cost curve. So the marginal cost, first and foremost, what does marginal mean? That's right, marginal means the word change. So we're going to look at marginal and we're going to look at change. So marginal cost is a change in the business's total cost per unit of change in output. So how much more is it going to cost to produce one more unit of output? So how do we calculate marginal cost? We're going to calculate marginal cost by taking the change in total cost divided by the change in output. So it helps answer that question. If I were to produce one more good, how much will it cost me? If that's what you got to keep in mind whenever you're trying to figure out the concept of marginal cost and the marginal cost curve, how much more is it going to cost me to produce one more good? So marginal cost curve, it actually, let's dive down here at this table first and foremost and look at how do we actually calculate the marginal cost curve. So first and foremost, we take the total cost divided by the output. Now, we're going to take, and we actually have the total cost calculated out for you down here. But what I would encourage you to do is go back and look at some of the earlier tables, because all of chapter 6 deals with basically the same example. So go back and look at some of the earlier tables in your notes and actually look at the total cost, calculate the change in total cost and the change in output, and see if you can come up with these numbers right here. Go back and look at some of those tables and make sure you can calculate these numbers, because I don't have the total cost listed right here, so we can't really calculate out those numbers right now. So I want you to go out and do that on your own time and make sure you can calculate those numbers and you know how to get them. So let's look at how the marginal cost curve actually lays out. And what we notice is that the marginal cost curve is actually going to fall, hit a minimum point, and then it's actually going to begin to increase again. And what else is something that's very interesting is that it actually cuts the average variable cost curve and the average total cost curve at their minimums. So if we look and we look at right here, right about that 8.1 marker of the minimum point of the average variable cost curve, it actually goes right through that average variable cost curve right at that minimum point. And it does the same thing right here for the average total cost curve. Well, that's kind of interesting. And the reason that is interesting is because both of those points show the efficiency of those costs, right? So the average variable cost, we know at the minimum point of the average variable cost curve is when you're most efficient with your variable costs. And the minimum point of your average total cost curve is when you're most efficient with your total costs. And the marginal cost curve actually cuts those two lines at their minimum points, at their most efficient points. And now those specific points, these minimum points of the average variable and the average total cost curve, are going to be important points, and we're going to talk about them a little bit more later on. But just know that they actually cross where the marginal cost curve crosses these two lines is at their minimums. So let's back up and think about what is marginal cost. Well, marginal cost really is a very simple concept. It just simply looks at how much is it going to cost to produce one more good. How much is it going to cost this rancher to raise one more calf? How much is it going to cost this farmer to yield one more bushel per acre? How much more is this going to cost us to, and we can insert any good here, to produce one more ton of hay per acre? One more anything, really. If you wanted to think about this from a production standpoint outside of agriculture, how much is it going to cost us to produce one more TV, for example, if you're in the business of producing TVs? How much more is it going to cost us to produce one more pound of fertilizer if you're a farm input supplier? How much more is it going to cost us to produce one more John Deere tractor if you're a John Deere equipment dealer or a John Deere equipment manufacturer? How much more is it going to cost us to produce one more bale of cotton per acre or anything like that? So all we're doing is we're trying to figure out how much more is it going to cost us to produce just one more unit. And we actually find that by taking the change in this total cost divided by the change in the output. And that's actually going to give us this additional cost per unit of output. And that's what it's going to do. And that's what we're looking for down here. And this is one of the most important concepts in production economics. It's one of the most important because we're actually going to tie it back into marginal revenue. And this is the line that helps really show us how much we're going to produce at profit maximization. So let's dive into this example a little bit. Let's say that it costs us $491 to produce 100 bushels per acre of corn. But it costs us $494 to produce 101 bushels per acre. So how much did it cost us to produce that one additional bushel per acre? Well, $3, right? Because the change in total cost was $3. A change in output was $1 or was one bushel per acre. So we take that $3, the change in total cost, divided by that change in output to find the marginal cost. I could have told you, though, that it costs $500 to produce 103 bushels per acre. So that's $500. So instead of 494, it's 500 to produce 103 bushels per acre. Now, how do we calculate our marginal cost? Well, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take the change in total cost, so 500 minus 491, and that's going to give us 9, divided by the change in bushels per acre. So we said it was 103 minus 100, so that gives us 3. So we have a change in cost of 3, a change in bushels per acre change in cost of 9, a change in bushels per acre of 3. So we take 9 divided by 3. Our marginal cost is $3 per acre. So what does that mean? It basically means that if we want to produce one more unit of output, that's going to cost us $3 more. And for us to produce one more, to produce that 101st bushel of acre of corn, it's going to cost us $3 additional over and above what it costs us to produce the 100th acre. Why is this important? Because if we know how much it's going to cost us to produce it, and what if we know how much we're going to receive off that 101st bushel per acre? Now can we start making decisions of whether or not to produce that 101st bushel of acre? Well, yes, we can. And that's where we're going with this. That's how we're going to find profit maximization, is we're going to be looking at how much is it going to cost us to produce one more unit? And how much are we going to receive off that one more unit?